Hi BookTube, and welcome to a new video. It's Tuesday, so that means it's Tag Tuesday. I was tagged in this by two people. Sean the Book Maniac, who I think originated, I think he revived this tag or found it in a non-litfic area of BookTube and brought it over to our little coterie. And then today I was re-tagged by Roz, because I think she's interested to see the various facial expressions I put at some of these questions. So let's see if we can satisfy Roz. This is the Moody Book Tag. 1. Do you consider yourself a mood reader? I do in some ways, in the sense of, I mean, I don't do things like seasonal reads or beach reads, so not in that sort of overarching way, but I can sort of be set on reading a book, picking up a book next, and then change my mind because I'm actually in the mood for something else. So, for example, I'm currently reading this, Big Girl, Small Town by Michelle Gallen, which is set in Northern Ireland. So I think I started it Sunday. Then yesterday I had an Amazon delivery, and there was a book called A Lonely Man by an author called Chris Power, which really intrigued me. So I put this, I'm a third of the way through this. I put this down. I read the Chris Power 302-page book all in one sitting, not because it was a great read, I have to say. And I'm going to go back to picking this up. So I'm a bit sort of shiny bauble mood reader, I suppose. I think if there's something new that I've received, a contemporary book, that will sort of muscle its way to the head of the queue more often than not. So I'm a bit of a mood reader, let's put it that way. 2, do you set TBR lists and do you stick to them? Well, the only TBR record I have is the Goodreads books I want to read, and I mainly use that to remind myself of what I've got, because they're sort of all dispersed all over the place and they're not necessarily readily findable. And I think my current TBR list runs to 4 pages on Goodreads, but it's really only the first page that I'm interested in, because the stuff on pages 3 and 4 are stuff way low priority reads. But I do spend quite a bit of time tinkering around in moving books from page 2 to page 1, or if I've bought a new book, adding that, and then, is that going to go into page 1? So page 1, which is 20 books, they are the 20 books most likely to be read in the year, I guess. They're sort of my priority books. But even then, it's not foolproof. I don't necessarily stick to it, but it's a pretty good guide as to what my next 20 books, or 20 of my next books, will be. 3, do books affect you emotionally? Does the mood of a book rub off on you? Not at all, with one exception. I get absolutely elated when a book blows my mind conceptually or linguistically or formally. And that elation can stay with me. So, for example, David Martson's This Is Not a Novel, my favourite book of all time, I read 3 years ago. That still elates me whenever I think about it. And I do think about it often. I reflect upon how it works and what it means for what our understanding of what fiction is. But these things don't happen very often. So I'd say elation is the only mood that I carry beyond the pages of the book. I suppose also extreme irritation with a really bad book, but that doesn't last very long, because I'll pick up another book to read, and hopefully that will banish and purge the irritation of the previous book. When you're feeling sad, what do you read, or do you not read when sad? Well, I'm not sad very, very often. I would imagine if I was, I probably wouldn't be reading. 5, most often, do you use reading to escape, to learn, or critically reflect? I know people do read to escape, to enter the imaginative worlds of the authors and the characters. I'm not interested in that in the slightest. So to learn and to critically reflect, I see as two sides of the same coin, really. So both of those, I wouldn't even sort of make a distinction. I do wonder, I do understand that some people want to escape. I get that, but the reason I can't do that is because if I felt I was in a position where mentally I needed to escape, my focus would rather be on, well, why do I need to escape? Why am I in that mood? what do I need to escape from, rather than, the solution is, at least for the duration of reading the book, I can escape by reading this book. So, I ask myself the question, what is it that I need to escape from? And then I'm much more likely to read a book that might help me answer that, or at least interrogate it. 6, what is a book that made you laugh out loud? I don't think a book has consistently made me laugh out loud. I have laughed out loud at specific things in books. But I think one of the funniest books I've ever read is called Karoo, Karoo, by Steve Tessich, who was a Hollywood, I think, a producer. And this Tessich, Karoo was his first novel, set in that world. Very funny. And then unfortunately he died of natural causes, so there was no follow-up. 7, what is a book that has made you cry, or if you don't cry, one that moved you? Well, I don't cry. I think the last book that moved me was The Lost Children Archive by Valeria Luiselli, which to me was the best portrayal of parents and children that I think I've ever read. And as a parent myself, it really spoke to me, which is quite unusual for novels to speak to me directly about my experience. 8, what is a book that you didn't even know how you felt about? This is a really difficult question, because most of the books that I would give as an answer to this really fall foul because they can't answer the so what question. Okay, I've read this book, so what? What was the point of it? How did it enrich my life? What has it taught me? What did it give me, even, not say teaching me anything, but what did it give me that was a bit different from what I've read previously in terms of language or metaphors or form? So it's not I don't know how to react to them. It's like, this book gave me nothing. But having said that, sort of thinking about it, there are a couple of books that sort of discombobulated me, and I really didn't know how to take them. So one of those was A Cure for Suicide by Jessie Ball. I'll post the link to my review of that. Another, funny, was both Autumn and Winter by Ali Smith, part of her seasonal quartet, because when I read them both, and again, I can post the links to my reviews of them, I said, I can't review these properly until I've read all 4 of the quartet, because there's some good bits, there's some bits that don't engage, and I can't see where it's heading. And although I really enjoyed Summer, which is the last in the quartet, I enjoyed that more than any of them. But even that didn't tie up all the loose ends. So having read it, I no longer feel I didn't know how to react. I think that was quite important, that at least I was able to take quite a lot out from the 4 as a whole. But individually, the first 2, I'm not sure at the time. I'm not sure. I wasn't sure how to take them. Agnes by Peter Stamm, which I read for Read More German Lit last year. It was a sort of a so what book, but it was a so what because I couldn't even see what it was trying to do. Normally, when you read a so what book like the works like The Third Policeman or Sleuth by Harry Matthews, where you just go, what is the point of this? I can see what he's trying to do, but it just doesn't work for me 100%. In the case of The Third Policeman, it was lots of slightly surreal Irish whimsy, but I thought, so what? In the Harry Matthews, I just thought, this doesn't make any sense at all. But there was a book, as I say, the Peter Stamm, I couldn't even figure out what it was trying to do. So that was sort of so what, but also, huh? But Peter Stamm, when I sort of posted my review of that, a German viewer commented, "Oh, Peter Stamm, you just didn't get it. Peter Stamm's really important, relatively contemporary modern German writer." And that set me thinking, because I hated Norwegian Wood by Murakami. And I wonder if the Peter Stamm sort of fell into the same boat for me as Norwegian Wood, where they're really, really important books to an upcoming generation of readers in Germany or Japan, depending which book you're talking about. But to me, they just meant absolutely nothing. They delivered nothing. So I don't know. It's just a stray thought I had. And then finally, an author I just don't get and leaves me sort of bemused is Ariana Horowitz, an Argentinian writer. I've read 2 of her books, Feeble Minded and Die My Love. And I just don't know what's going on there. I just felt totally outside of the voice and what the voice was describing. So but is that quite? I don't know how I feel about. No, I did know how I feel about it. I feel that Ariana Harwitz is not a writer for me. So I kind of do know how I feel about it. That's why I find this question a bit tricky to answer, really. 9. Are you like to read on a sunny day or a cloudy day? I'll read on any day because I mainly read indoors, so the weather outside doesn't really affect me. Although during lockdown last summer, I did enjoy sitting outside on a wicker chair reading. Um, but yeah, it doesn't make a lot of difference. 10. Do you usually set the mood when you read? Music, light, smells, etc. I don't. I can't have music playing because I can't concentrate, even if it was sort of instrumental music. I have to have quiet when I read, and yet when I write, or at least when I'm writing the first draft, I have to have music. But when I read, if there's any extraneous noise, even like a lawnmower or a car or something next door, that could put me off. But I do read a lot in the bath, and sometimes in that bath I will put bubbles, but it's not to set the mood. It's that's the quality of the bath that I want, and that bath then becomes a locus for me to read for an hour or so. Having said that, my wife purchased this for me. Admittedly, not a guide to reading, or an aid to reading, I should say. As you can see, a giant candle by a company called Neon Organics, and it says Bedtime Hero. Because my wife, I'm an insomniac, and my wife saw this on the shopping channel, one of them, I don't know which one, and she said, oh, it's got to be worth a try. You've tried everything else, from acupuncture to kinesiology to cognitive therapy. No, was it cognitive or behavioural? I think it was cognitive. So I said, all right, give it a go. And I used it once with the pillow spray and what was the other thing it came with? Bubble bath, funny enough. And it didn't make any difference to me. It stinks to high heaven. It's so oily. Nothing to do with reading. I just thought I'd give you that little anecdote. Oh, it stinks now. And 11, can you leap from book to book, or do you need buffer time between them? Well, like Roz, it just depends on the nature of the read, really. It also depends at what point in the day I finish the first one. If it's sort of, still daylight, the chances are I will pick up another book to start. If it's sort of darkness outside, my eyes are probably too tired to start reading something fresh. But as Roz says, if something relatively demanding, you just finished that, I'm unlikely to pick up another book straight away. Although, it can happen. It does happen occasionally. So I think that's it. So thanks to Sean and Roz for tagging me. That was my version of the Moody Book Tag. Sorry, Roz, I don't really remember putting any faces, but, let's see what comes out in the edit, eh? Till next time, thanks very much.